The Dangers of LooksMaxxing, story of James Sapphire by DC1. Yeah. LooksMaxxing is very interesting because people are doing things that do not work, people are doing things that destroy their body, and people are doom pilling. It's really just like, your looks aren't the issue. It's you. Regardless, let's jump into it. Let's jump into it. Also, LooksMaxxers glaze other men more than they actually LooksMaxx, but okay.
Everyone wants to look a little better. Maybe you just want to shed a few pounds, hit the gym, try a new hairstyle, maybe switch up your wardrobe. Everyone just wants to look good. But how far are you willing to take it? How far would you go?
Who wants a kissy by this dude? Who wants a kissy?
To look as good as you possibly can. Are you willing to take the black pill? James Sapphire is—
Never take the black pill. Never. Never just take the blue pill. Never just take the red pill. Take, what is it? Take the purple pill. I don't know. Any pill, but not just exclusively these three.
Is the epitome of everything that could go wrong with male self-improvement and LooksMaxxing. Not only—
Hamza stopped. Hamza quit. This is horror maxing. Yep, this is horror maxing.
Did this at the time, 14-year-old child ironically lose any normality he had to his appearance in the attempts to look as good as possible, but also completely lost his sanity along the way. From permanently destroying his face with surgery to getting addicted to various types of drugs and even eating his own feces.
Not surprising, we had this before. Not surprising. Not surprising. We had this before, right? With the furry that ate shit, literally, and put on a piece of paper.
And drinking his own urine. James Sapphire is someone who has lost everything to the black pill. With his notorious lolcow status across—
But why does he appear gay? Why? Why does that seem the case?
all depths of the internet, coupled with the fact that he has not only destroyed his appearance, but destroyed any chance of him ever having a normal life again, serves as a cautionary tale of just how dangerous taking the black pill can be.
Black pillars are just guys that completely gave up on themselves, I'm gonna be honest. That they just are. Like, looks are everything, but I won't be ever looking good, so I'll just give up. Like, most LooksMaxxers, and I'm not talking about most black pillars, I wouldn't even call LooksMaxxers, like, actual LooksMaxxers, black pillars. Like, hyper black pillars, because they at least tried to fix something. They're still black pill, but they're not black pill. The true black pillars are those who just say looks are everything. I'm not in control. I just give up. Is this James Charles' cousin, long lost brother? But I don't think does he do underage but still legal age straight boys?
Something I should preface before starting this video is that James is a pretty huge troll, and it's hard to decipher what is embellished and what is true about him. I've done quite a bit of research for this video and have spoken with many people who are or were close to James at different points of his life, so I feel like I've got a good account of what his story is, but it gets pretty convoluted at points, so take everything I say with a grain of salt.
Like, the hammer doesn't do anything. Mewing doesn't do anything. Like, these things don't do anything. They don't help. They don't do anything. And all these LooksMaxxers, when they try to sell you something, they don't work. This is all just a scam to buy some coarse and weird ass shit. All of this does not work. It's useless.
Also, James is extremely racist and misogynistic, so any slurs or hateful rhetoric shown in any of the screenshots I've taken of posts James has made, I just want to make clear I do not stand by, and if stuff like this is triggering to you, especially the N-word that seems to be a favorite of James, I would recommend clicking off the video.
spoiler alert, I will use the word retard probably a lot again. But yeah. Don't use the N-word. In general.
James Sapphire, also known as Curly Head James, was born in Dallas, Texas, between the years of 2003 and 2005. James had a pretty rough childhood, with his
Bro is younger than me.
father dying in the military before he was born, and his mother being an adult film star as well as a drug addict.
Well, that explains a lot again. Motherless and fatherless behavior.
While it seems he has been in contact with his birth mother at certain points in his life, he claims he wants nothing to do with her, disgusted by her line of work, specializing in some pretty vulgar fetish stuff. And you line of work, specializing in some pretty
He's really young. Rips a 60-second fart. So sexy. Yeah. Yeah.
vulgar fetish stuff. And you can't really blame James for this. She definitely does not seem to be in a solid headspace much of the time from drugs and other mental illness problems, often leaving incoherent rants across a lot of James's social media accounts. It even seems although she was homeless for at least a period of time, as James shared a clip of her on the news when on a podcast.
Find ways to relocate the homeless.
I haven't heard.
There she is. That's my mom.
Right there. Okay, that looks like the woman.
Says she's been homeless for 8 months, despite what the airport says about trying to relocate the homeless. Says nobody has talked to her about moving.
No.
In fact,
the bitch was on TV? That's crazy. Yeah, with a mother like that, I'd probably have some issues with women too. Why are these people, why are people it's crazy. There's people out there who want to be parents, but they'll never be, because they're incapable of doing so, and there's people who don't deserve to be parents, but are. I don't know, but early 2000s, still young. So when he is born in 2003, he's young. When I'm born in 2001, I'm old, I'm a hag. Women.
she says the airport seems to welcome them.
I'm grateful to the police for letting us come out here and stuff.
It's unclear on if his mother is still homeless now or even still alive. James is emancipated, and he claims although his mother lost custody of him in 2013, which was when James was roughly about 7. So through most of James' childhood, he grew up being raised by his extended family in the Dallas, Texas surrounding area. It could also be that James is lying about this being his mother, which would make a lot more sense, although from the research I've done, I'm actually more inclined to believe that this is his actual birth mother. I'm not gonna get into detail for confidentiality reasons, but from speaking to people around James and public records, this does seem to actually be his real birth mother. But despite his bad circumstances, James was a pretty normal kid for much of his childhood. He played sports, had friends, and was pretty popular among his peers. He even had girls from his school texting him on Snapchat and received numerous compliments.
Bro was getting them women. That's crazy. They want to have kids, but they don't want to be parents. Yep, very true. Also, a Hunter Eye still jawline. He is receiving plenty of female. Would always hit him up. Him up and saying, "Impregnate me." Men will initiate them up. What the fuck? There's women out there who text this homie and be like, yes, put a baby in my belly? Breeding kink? Question mark?
On his then youthful appearance. And one time, a girl who was interested in James as a compliment called him a pretty boy, and little did either of them know that this singular comment would come to ruin James Sapphire's life forever. Not knowing what a pretty boy was, a 14-year-old James Sapphire googled it just to see what it meant, where a picture of Chico came up on a website called LooksMaxx.org. Now for those unaware, LooksMaxx is a website and forum dedicated to mostly men trying to max out how good they can genetically appear for the opposite sex. In recent years, it's become a much more known and talked about topic.
Yeah, but these LooksMaxxers, they've slowly started to, like, these people, self-improvement people have slowly started to drop out because, it's tiring. It doesn't work anymore. So people have stopped. Like, Hamza said, yeah, he's good. He's no longer doing it. I'm expired, so what age do they want? 16? I don't know, go ahead and ask EDP. He likes cupcakes. People born in 2000 are getting married, jeez. I wanted to get married in 2019. That didn't go quite so well. Yeah, I want to be married early. I want to be a husband early, have kids early. Look where I'm now. Raise your standards, people. You can do better, for real.
Topic to which a lot of people actually seem to credit James Sapphire for popularizing. And on paper, LooksMaxxing doesn't sound like anything too bad. The idea of looking as good as you can isn't inherently a bad thing, but it's the site's users that make this extremely toxic, frequently telling people of whom they refer to as having bad genetics that they will never find love, and even
Wait, they literally give ratings. They literally give ratings 0 to 2 out of 10. These ratings are reserved for people with genetic deformities, obesity to the degree of Tammy Slayton, or burn other similar accident victims. They will be met with shock by both men and women alike upon seeing them. True Cell. These people are a 2.5 to 3 out of 10 second percentile. They have too many structural failures that make them look too far removed from the average human, though not disfigured necessarily. They cannot ascend to a MTN and will be considered repulsive to women. Examples: Casey Neistat in his late 20s, one of my teachers said that his wife called him the ugliest YouTuber when playing a video of him in class. Casey Neistat is not ugly. El Paso Mascular? They put those both into, like, with the same category? There is no way. There is no way. There is no way you put Casey Neistat looks-wise on the same level as this dude. At least he has a somewhat pronounced jawline. This one is just an egg. Neither of those men are ugly. They just look like average guys. And there's plenty of room for improvement, right? Like, you just see their face, but that's about it. Well, I hope that we don't have to see this guy's face, but that's crazy.
They refer to as having bad genetics that they will never find love, and even encourage them to themselves.
What the fuck?
Bad genetics that they will never find love, and even encourage them to themselves.
3 steps. Go ask out 1,000 women. Step 2, get rejected by everyone. Step 3, go rogue, but take some souls along with you. What the fuck are we advocating for? That gotta be bait. That has to be bait. That's gotta be bait. No, 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 nope, 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 nope. I think there is no man. Wait, I can disprove this one immediately. Remember the guy that said, that made, like, his videos of how it is to live, like, as an ugly person, right? Remember the guy? Remember? Here's a fun fact. Bro was making videos, and his wife found him through his YouTube comments, and said he actually looks kind of cute. By the way, the guy is married, and I think he has a kid. So no, homies, it's not too late. You're not ugly! You just don't take care of yourself. Yeah, most people have room for improvement. Very few people are attractive enough that they don't need any progression. Yep. Very true. Like, there's always something you can do, right? Like, work out, dress better, eat better. Like, you can do things to fix stuff. Like, you're not stuck.
All because they don't look a certain way. A forum like this can be extremely dangerous to a malleable adolescent, and James Sapphire has become the poster child.
What is this? Bro looks like a... You know what he looks like? A human skull with a little bit of skin on. I think the guy from this video is still better than Johnny Somali. Not really, because he's promoting a really dangerous culture. He's a really weird one. A lot of unattractive men just need to grow a beard. True, kind of. Some men I'm like, homie, if you grew a beard, that would increase your aura. Or I'm like, I see like some really overweight guy, and I'm like, damn, bro, you're huge. You're huge right now, but like, if you lost some weight, you could be you could get a girl.
For this. After initially discovering the site on accident, James
He clicks on the image, and down the rabbit hole he goes. Hole? Wait, where's there a W in there? That's how he discovered this website. Eventually, he starts considering surgery and fillers. All these people brainwashing him, saying you need more chin projection. You need hollow cheeks because you have more baby fat. Get rid of that hair. Get better eye area. Don't work out, because if you have the face, then girls will like you as long as you are 6+ PSL. These terms, this is like brain rot for men. For young, insecure men. Crazy. And yes, work out. Fun fact. Working out is potentially better than even therapy if you have mental issues, because it fixes something. It can fix, I don't know what the thing is called in English, but it fixes something in your brain.
Began to frequently post himself across the forum, where people began to brainwash him into believing he would never be successful in the dating world unless he received various different cosmetic surgeries and fillers, telling him he needed more chin projection, bigger lips, less face fat, and a bunch of other ways in which his appearance was lacking. And eventually James began to actually start believing them, even though at the time girls were still hitting him up on Snapchat, even inviting him to multiple different parties after.
Of course it was manipulation. Of course. Like, he was already getting attention from the ladies. I just find that very interesting that he really went down that path, even if he didn't need to. And it wasn't really necessary at all. Huh.
Discovering the forum, this was not enough for James. He then posted his eyes in a private chat on the site and was told his eye area was utter dog and he would never find love unless he got UE filler, canthoplasty, and orbital implants. James was taken aback by this. Girls had always complimented him on his eyes, but now he was being told he needed surgery by people he trusted, so he became more and more depressed. He felt totally insecure about his appearance and vowed to do anything he could to change it. This was the last video James claims was taken of him before he went completely off the rails and everyone in his city began to hate him.
Off your fucking head too. And them bitches are mine. You're not getting them back. And I put that on my mother too. You're not getting them hoes back. Do you understand me?
Since James was pretty popular, this video proceeded to go viral at James' school, and
he was essentially practically still almost a kid. Workout is good for everything, but his heart, bro. Not really. Not really. I wouldn't say so. Like, getting fit, you don't need like tons of muscle, but getting fit is pretty easy. If you want to have a proper amount of muscle, sure, but getting fit is not hard. He wasn't even a bad-looking guy. He wasn't. This is actually so sad. He was just an insecure kid, very much.
Everyone began to bully him. Any friends he had prior and any girls who were talking to him completely did away with him, and he became seen as easy bait at his school. People would come threaten him with baseball bats, take his jewelry, make him pay for protection.
Basically, bro went mad. Bro got groomed, pretty much. Bro went mad, and even the girl said, nah, we good.
He claims he basically became public enemy #1 in his city. So this is where James decided to drop out of school, using what little money he had to buy more surgery, as well as having bought HGH AIs and MK677, which, for those who don't know, are steroids. James is still to this day super vengeful of the people who bullied him in high school, frequently posting about how much he hates them and how he can't wait to one day get revenge on all of them for whatever that might mean. James seems to be—
Are we getting another Roger case soon? That's actually crazy. They'll make him more insecure and lonely. This is bad. Yeah, I think it's too late. Yeah, I think this is too late.
Pretty self-aware of his situation. He himself even claims to have lost everything to this forum. From taking the advice from incels on looks—
What was that? Really, I went through all this trauma. I didn't even say the half of it here, because this thread would legit be 2 hours long and most won't even read this one. Just be called a Michael Jackson on a LooksMaxxing forum full of insults. Wait, he himself realizes this? Then why are you not stopping?
James seems to be pretty self-aware of his situation. He himself even claims to have lost everything.
To the gray cell unregistered user reading this. What is a gray cell? Chat, we're getting the LooksMaxxing terms here. What is a gray cell? From the call of recruit is a user from a forum in okay. Incels wiki. Let's see. A gray cell? Former called a recruit. That's odd. It's a user, okay, who has less than 500 posts on the forums because their username is showing gray text. Basically, they're just what the fuck? What are these terms, bro? What are these terms?
To this forum. From taking the advice from incels on looksmax.org, he slowly started to become one himself and lost everything in the process. James, losing everything and completely regretting the surgeries he had done to his face, says in a post, "If I would have known what taking such strong responsibility and having this powerful information would do to me, I would have ignored it and lived ignorantly in bliss." But little did he know that this would only be the tip of the iceberg for just how low his life could get. Now, the timeline for James Sapphire's social media side of his story is a little convoluted, and my timeline might not be exactly perfect, but I do think this is the most interesting part of the James Sapphire story, so I'm going to try my best to get this side of his journey coherent. It seems after dropping out with no education or real way to make money, this is where James Sapphire began to try to take becoming an internet personality more seriously. He did initially go—
Oh god, that's crazy. Addiction? Soon? Probably, I would assume. It's crazy that he literally had women interested in him, calling him attractive, but he instead listened to other men. I bet none of them calling him ugly-head girls, so their advice was pointless. That's why I'm not even saying it as a joke. Single people keep single people single. It is just the truth. Don't take advice from people that are not in a relationship. Straight up.
Go out and get a regular job at the dollar store to make some money for himself so he could buy more surgery, candy, etc. But James would only work there for about 5 months before quitting, as he described actually working a regular job for a living as slave labor, and he also wasn't very enthusiastic about many of his African-American co-workers. James vowed he would never work a normal job again and began to put more—
That's crazy. That's crazy. Quitting the job because I'm racist. Interesting. Highly interesting.
focus into what he was doing on social media. He had been doing TikTok and Instagram stuff up until that point, but never really took it too seriously. James Sapphire stated himself on his LooksMaxxing account, "If you people had a song and lore with potential, you would take it. It's not my fault as well. I fell into a friend group of a bunch of TikTokers who I will not name who persuaded me to promote this stuff. Besides, normies see it as a joke." But as James said, people were intrigued by his story and dissension into madness, with me included, so he thought he would make a pivot into capitalizing on it. And to some degree, it worked. As I said earlier, he is the one who popularized this whole LooksMaxxing craze, as well as
biggest mistake ever. I'll be back to my music. I'm gonna watch some TikTok videos. Take care, Zoom. Yeah, this is just wild. This is just wild that if he is basically the pilot of all of this, yeah, that's terrible.
bone smashing, but that one's kind of weird. I'll get into that.
That's one's very weird, because there's actual people who break their bones, literally. They break their bones so they can regrow in the way they need it. The problem is that those do not regrow. He's the OG guy, apparently, yes.
That one later, James continued to post more and more to his TikTok and began to amass a relatively small but very loyal following. Then in 2021, he would branch out to other platforms like Instagram and Snapchat, and this is about the time I found out about him, even though I wish I didn't. Here are some screenshots of the stuff he used to post on his stories back in the day.
What the fuck? Okay, we're reading this. Also, basically, in this case, he kickstarted the LooksMaxxing thing, and now with lengthening surgeries. Incels get a bad rep, but we don't care about, because you women don't know shit and you're all retards. Interesting. F all women, by the way, down there. White is the best race. Whites are worshipped by Asians as well. When you think all the characters in anime are white with light eyes, because they're Japanese. Spoiler alert! Japanese are usually very pale. Spoiler alert! Yeah, people that don't get a lot of sun are pale. Why do you think girls worship light eyes? That's crazy. That is crazy. This guy is crazy. Don't call me racist for hating all black women. Because I hate all women, including Mexican women. Why do you hate the Latinas? Oh no! Don't the Latinas! Why did the Latinas didn't do anything? White women, especially Indians. Well, Indians catching special stray, I guess, from him. Also, I hate all Filipino women, but they're slightly less worse than American women. I am racist for hating all races, but not specifically for hating black people, because my hate for women goes to all races. That, what the fuck is he yapping about? I'm not a bigot. I hate everyone. What the fuck did women ever do to him? Nothing. That's the problem. He's projecting. It was men taking this as a personal attack, not the Latinas. The Latinas, not the Latinas. Shadow won't like this one. He like, the men did that to him. The dudes did that to him, not the ladies. The ladies liked him. Art comes around, and my love for having sex goes around. I have had sex hundreds of times. You all think I'm a virgin, but I'm not. I'm a sad motherfucker who judges too much on looks. Does sex count if you're scissor? Cause that's what I do. Why would I do? I have a vagina. What the fuck? Why does he worship full lips then? That's not inherently white feature. That's a good question. I have no idea. White supremacist. That's a new one. We have never watched one who was one. Or is one. That's interesting. New content unlocked, chat.
On his stories back in the day. Just extremely racist, misogynistic, incel rants that he would post very frequently, sometimes even like 20 times a day on both his respective stories. James also seems to have a huge disdain to showering or really any practice of hygiene, which he frequently
LooksMaxxing Asmongold? LooksMaxxing Asmongold, chat. That's crazy. What the hell is bro yapping? Bro is just done. Like, he's just done. He was absolutely groomed into this by other men on the website and blames it on women. Like, I know both sides have serious issues, but that is not the way to go.
He ranted about as well on his social media. Here's maybe my favorite post James has ever made on his LooksMaxxing account, which reads as following: I haven't showered in 8 months. Don't brush my teeth. Eat my poop. Boogers. Drink urine. Don't wipe. Don't clean my penis after I jerk off 10.
Yeah, by the way, if you beat your meat 10 times a day, I do not believe that you get girls, because why do you have the need to beat your meat 10 times a day?
times a day, sit in my room all day naked playing Roblox. I don't shave or clean my fingernails and toenails, don't cut them, plus I have lice. While you have to take showers.
Does he have lice in his foreskin as well? Hygiene is important, period. You just don't need hygiene for this one. You need the eat what? He eats his shit. Literally. I have news for you. I have news for you. If you are a man and you sleep with trans women, you, my dear friend, are gay. You are gay as hell. If you like cock, you are gay. Sorry. I'm very sorry. I'm very, very sorry. If you fuck another man's ass, you are gay. Fuda enthusiast, interesting. Nah, he's just gay.
Times on his LooksMaxxing profile.
Maybe that explains, actually, why he didn't care about the opinions of women, but the opinions of men. Maybe he is just that. Gay.
Claiming that trans women have not wronged him in the same way that real women have, so he therefore doesn't hold any grudges against them as he does with women born female at birth. He is such an incel that it literally turns him into being LGBTQ. Some people would probably say this is trolling, which fair, but I feel like there's at least something to this. The posts seem to come from a pretty genuine place of attraction, but who knows. This is also roughly about the time that
I hate women so much. This is literally, he hates women so much that he literally turned gay. He literally said one day, "I'm so gay. I'm so I hate women so much. I'm gay." That man is a homosexual. Margot Robbie with a dick would be a Fuda. Am I crazy? Yes, it would be. It literally would be. Like, it would, okay, yeah, it would be. It would be. Like, it actually would be. Like, that would be classified as Fuda. Because, like, woman, but cock. Yeah.
James ate his own feces and drank his own urine on camera.
Yo, what's up, guys? You see this on my finger. I'm gonna send the video to my story very soon once I eat it. Low key, it does not look too bad.
This is pretty obviously fake, but just goes to show.
I was like, yeah. I was like, I was about to say. I was about to say. I was about to skip, dude. I was about to say. Oh my goodness. Whoops. Yeah, otherwise it would not be in this video, because, fun fact, that's actually illegal. I was about to say, homie's not eating that on a video. That's crazy. Oh no.
The type of stuff he would post on his social media at the time. If he was ever going to try to take this seriously, he was going about it in the completely wrong direction. Or maybe not, I mean, I'm talking about it right now, so hey, maybe this was a good decision since he was already not taken very seriously at the time, and this was probably just another attempt at him going viral. But either way, James was only able to keep his Snapchat and original Instagram up for another few months before getting banned due to the type of content he posted. But that was okay, because luckily for James, he had an ace up his sleeve. James subsequently decided this is where he would start to drop some music. He seems to have had a love of music since his childhood. There's even videos of him playing guitar in his school talent show, so this seemed like a logical next step for his social media endeavors. Now, James's trajectory.
So we went from incel to feces eater to musician. Yeah, this is gonna go horrible.
And sound throughout his music career is very diverse, going through multiple different distinct phases in his musical journey. The first of which is a pitched up pop star motif. His first few songs sounded like they could be on the Disney Channel or like a Kids Bop playlist. The most popular song from this era is called Together, which also got turned into a meme sound on TikTok.
Every game she plays in a spark of flame. My girl's wearing those expensive pearls. She'll be taking my last name.
I honestly don't know what James was thinking when he was making this. I couldn't imagine anyone ever actually listening to this outside of a meme, so maybe that's what he was going for. But luckily for us,
but that was not the worst thing. I imagined horrid shit to come out, but that wasn't the worst thing. That wasn't the worst thing ever. I would never listen to this. But that wasn't the worst thing ever. God, I won't be able to eat tonight. That is also not the intention. But that's not the worst thing ever. This is not the worst thing ever. Dare I say, if he actually did it properly, he might have had some talent?
this era of James didn't last long, as he pretty quickly changed his sound from Disney pop to hyperpop. James demonstrated this change on what would be his most popular feature ever and second biggest song he's ever been on, Y2K by Party Like 2000s. I'm not gonna lie, as someone who used to be a big hyperpop fan, I actually kinda like this song and used to listen to it at the gym. But as James was making music, he continued to troll on social media, often making himself the butt of the jokes in his TikToks, and kind of embraced his overall living meme status.
Like I said, it's not particularly the worst. Like, like, what he could have done. It's just that he refused, that he fell down this into a hole. That's really it. It's not bad, kids would eat that up. Probably, yeah. Like, some teenage girls, they would eat that up.
He carved out for himself at that point. During this period, James actually seemed to be doing alright for a while. That is, until eventually everything took a turn for the worst. This is what I'm going to dub the rockstar era of James Sapphire. Between his music, drug use, and deteriorating mental health, I think this is a good title. This era kicks off with arguably James' most notable achievement to date, founding and popularizing a new subset of LooksMaxxing called bone smashing. Now, before I go into detail on what bone smashing is, I just want to say I do not endorse or encourage anyone at home to try bone smashing.
Don't do bone smashing. Your bones will not grow the way you want them to.
An extremely dangerous endeavor that can more or less be chalked up to pure pseudoscience, so keep that in mind. But bone smashing is where you lightly hit your face with a hammer or some hard object to slowly refine your face into having a more chiseled structure. Eventually, from repeated light blunt force trauma, the bones start to grow and mold themselves into having a more desired shape. Some studies say that it can actually be successful in refining face shape if done properly, but others claim it to just be a fictitious internet trend with no real facts behind it. I'm more inclined to believe the latter on this one, but
yeah, it doesn't work. It does not work. It's a straight up lie. Again, it's just an internet trend, possibly to make even money off of it, as usual. The classic, you know? It's just to make money. That's really it.
To each their own. Either way, James Sapphire is credited for starting and popularizing this trend, and it even landed him an interview with Know Your Meme, a pretty sizable website and internet culture hub. The interview is basically just asking James some questions about bone smashing, like what it is and if it works, where James speaks on his experience with doing it for what he claims has been 2 years at that point. I'll link the full interview in the description if you want to read it in its entirety.
Also, it looks just dumb. Bro constantly is like mewing. He just looks like he's like mewing 24/7.
But there is one excerpt from it that I think is pretty damning and shows James opening up a bit about his mental health. To the question, do you regret bone smashing? James Sapphire responds as saying, I have a ton of regrets in life. Bone smashing is a cult for me, a safe space, even if it is just a placebo. Each time I pick up that hammer, I feel empowered with each hit. I know I will achieve my goal. All the times I was beat up at school, approached once by the baseball team who had bats threatening to kill me, thrown into bathrooms and scuffed up and bullied, each hit I've had to endure from normies is represented by my smashes. And not only is it an emotional scar, but it is now a physical scar shown visibly on my face. Bone smashing seems to be more than just...
It's a coping mechanism. He's picking up the hammer to smash his face a little bit to cope. That's what it is. He always appears constipated, very true. Like, That's what it is. That's crazy. Interesting. What a weird coping mechanism. I think that's one of the weirder ones. Not as weird as, you know, wearing diapers and being a diaperologist, but aside from that, that's one on the weirder end.
It's a way to look better for James. It's a tool he uses to forget the outside world and sedate his mind into only concentrating on forming a better face structure, instead of dealing with the many problems he has in his life. I truly do feel really bad for James when hearing stuff like this, but sadly for him, this interview proved to do nothing but worsen his situation, because after this interview with Know Your Meme, James would subsequently get doxxed as well as swatted. See, while James does have a lot of fans, with him being a huge internet troll and lolcow, he has just as many, if not more, haters. As you saw by many of the screenshots I've used, he isn't exactly the nicest guy on the internet, and he's been notoriously known to go into voice chats on Discord just to talk shit and troll people. So all the trolling he's done through the years,
and if someone said they had enough and just straight up, yeah, said, yeah, we good. We're gonna swat you. Yep. Classic.
seem to actually catch up to him in real time, with him having to face real life consequences due to his actions over the internet. But it wasn't all bad for James, as here he would have a short victory, at least as far as his music career went. This is where James made his most popular single to date, called Blackpill Curse, which gained a lot of traction on TikTok yet again, especially in LooksMaxxing posts. This song sits at having well over 1 million streams on Spotify and just under 300,000 views on YouTube as of this recording, which is definitely—
He actually kinda does a little bit. You are not wrong. He actually does look like Richard Ramirez, a little bit at least. There's some resemblance, I can see it. I can actually see it. That's crazy.
Nothing to scoff at. These are some pretty notable numbers, which shows despite his bad reputation, he does have a genuine fan base. Here's a clip of the song itself. This song I've actually had stuck in my head all throughout the process of making this video. If the lyrics weren't so tied to the Blackpill, I would even call this a good song, which seems to be a pretty common sentiment held by many fans of his as well, but James seems to not really care and wants to embrace his Blackpill identity.
Like I said, if he actually focused only on his music and stopped the Blackpill shit, he could actually quite redeem himself. He's not going to. Like, this isn't the worst shit ever. Like, it really isn't. Hold up, nice shit. It's not the, if you are into that type of genre, it's probably not the worst.
Farther, but aside from his music, this is easily the darkest period of James' life, as any success or money he'd make from his
what did he have in his mouth? Nah, bro.
Music or his social media profiles would go directly into fueling his budding drug addiction. See, one thing I didn't mention is that all throughout 2022 and much of 2023, James Sapphire had been heavily using substances such as methamphetamine, cocaine, and codeine promethazine syrup, also known as lean. So much so that James was even sent to a mandatory state-induced rehab in late 2023. He seems to have gone through long bouts of drug-induced psychosis, as well as just a general loss of reality, which is backed up by the very strange, delirious posts he would make during this time period, as well as the downright bizarre songs and style of editing he put out during his time of hard drug use. He claims he would—
I guess you need drugs to be a good artist? Maybe I should make YouTube videos. Maybe I should do reactions while being high. I don't know, maybe that helps.
Was a daily user at that point, sinking further and further into a deeper and deeper depression, all leading to James eventually overdosing on methamphetamine, with him nearly dying, then being forced into a rehab facility. This was the complete rock bottom for James. By this point, his drug problem had completely spiraled out of control. And between him dropping out of high school and the fact that he could never get a normal job because one Google search of his name would prevent anyone—
Yeah, if you search up his name, and if I was somebody hiring him, and I would be like, I would for real be like, yeah, I'm not hiring this dude. That's not happening. Like, I would not hire this motherfucker. Do he have shit in his hand? Probably not. Probably not. This is so sad. He was a really cute guy. Fell into this loop of LooksMaxxing and insult culture, which ruined his face, his mental health, his public perception, everything. Yep, that is when you take the black pill way too far. Or you take the black pill at all.
From ever hiring him, James Sapphire felt like he had completely ruined his entire life, and to much degree, he most certainly did. He may never be able to fully recover from his past mistakes, and will probably go to the grave with his face still mangled by plastic surgery, but at the very least, it does seem as of late he is taking the right steps towards putting his life back together. He's actively seeing multiple different therapists to deal with his past trauma, and has gotten completely sober from hard drugs, now only using marijuana. And while James still doesn't seem to be interested in working a normal job, he seems to be coasting frugally off government assistance and food stamps. James says in a post that he gets $1,200 a month from military disability due to his deceased father and relies on food stamps for his basic necessities, getting a bit of money from his music as well as other in-person side hustles to keep him afloat, only really ever leaving his apartment to go to therapy or to get groceries. It isn't exactly a very ideal situation.
It's not a W, but it's not an L. He's making the right steps. He is, in fact, making the right steps. Not bad, not bad. That's a good direction. We still have 3 minutes. Don't know. Might backfire.
Kind of just coasting off government assistance, but it still is a big step up for how his life was going previously. Also, as of recently, James has gotten completely off social media, deleting all his Instagram posts and removing much of the videos on his YouTube channel, which I think is the right move for James.
Very good, very good. We are on a good start. We are on a good start. Very good.
Social media has done nothing but harm to James throughout his life, so him taking the initiative to consciously remove himself from his online identity is the only way I see James ever really recovering. While James is now stepping away from the black pill, it's not the same James as he was before. He said multiple times that his internet personality was not a persona and was just a mirror of how he was really feeling at the time. And now, with everything said and done, he's left with many regrets and trauma from a life of unsupervised internet usage that led him to where he is today. I want to end this segment with a quote from James himself that I feel
W. James, for real. W. James. This seems to work.
Really encapsulates the fallout of his story well. They took everything from us. Took our depression, turned it into a joke, we got nothing out of it. Now I'm left rotting in despair while they get to move on with their lives. I am only now just starting to pick up the pieces and finally get my life back together after being on hiatus my entire teenage years. They all took advantage of me during my emotional distress and high out of my mind on crystal meth, coercing me into doing things I not only regret looking back on, but things that will severely impact my future for the rest of my life. I will never forgive or forget the ones who did this to me.
Conclusion. Yeah, it is quite sad that how a somewhat really successful young man with his looks, he had absolutely the world open for dating, and then he just fell upon the LooksMaxxing, and it turned out weird. Maybe drugs are good for people would take your words out of context. Never use drugs to ruin people's life. Very true. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't take any other substances that I would be aware of. I think I'm good.
What I hope everyone can take away from this video is that you should be very careful on what you post and view online. The internet never forgets, and a post you make today can and will be used to haunt you down the road. Be mindful of what you are doing on here. Any toxic fringe internet circles such as the black pill should be avoided at all costs. It will do nothing but ruin your mind and further dampen your spirit. It's most likely too late for James Sapphire, but it is most certainly not too late for you. Please seriously
seek help if you are going down that line. Also, There's plenty of things I said you can weaponize. The problem is that I genuinely believe the things I say, so, good luck. I don't really care. Should the cancellation come, I'm like, yep, go ahead.
Stop and think before you engage with the internet, because if you don't, the consequences could be detrimental. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I know this really isn't like my typical upload. I've been trying to branch out from strictly doing like anime type content, so if you did enjoy the video, please leave a like.
Yeah, this was a good video. This was a really good video. Can definitely recommend this channel. He's doing a great job. That was a good video. I like this. Well, now we know basically the guy who popularized LooksMaxxing and how that turned out for him. Chat, don't LooksMax. Just fix the things you actually can fix. Work out, dress better, get a good diet, hygiene, really important. That's pretty much it. Social skills, those are important. I don't even have those, but regardless. But yeah, like, comment, and subscribe.